Hello again everyone, and welcome back to my workshop. This video is made to solve a problem given to me by an acquaintance of mine, and he flies competition aerobatics, and what he wants is the following to happen. We can see that the model is in its default flying mode, as demonstrated by my assistant here. And when I move the switch or the push button, it goes to stall turn mode. And I do it again and it goes back to the default mode. So far, that's very easy. Here's the good bit. The next time I move the switch, it goes into spin mode, like that. And the next time I move it, back to default, and then it runs through that sequence again each time you press it. So what we'll do is run through how to program that, and then we'll put the transmitter aside, get the pencil and paper out and show you how the logic works, just in case you think this is of use to you, but you might want to modify it. Now, of course, when my friend asked me about programming this, my first response was, why not use the automatic spin or flick mode sensing, where if you pull, say, full up elevator and full rudder, it jumps the mode for you and puts it back to default when you release the sticks. But it's not suitable for what he wants, because he wants to be able to pull full up elevator sometime before putting the rudder in, and you don't want it all to switch just because you've pulled full up elevator. So how do we set about it? Well, it's fairly straightforward. We go into our flight modes and we've set them up like this. The stall turn mode is priority 1 and the spin mode is priority 2. And the reason for this is that on every second pull of the switch, or say from the first pull of the switch and then every second time, the spin mode will come on. But it's only on every second time that you cycle through that the stall turn mode will come on. So every second time you go through the full cycle, both stall turn and spin modes will switch on. But because the transmitter only uses one at a time, stall turn has priority, so it will take the mode. Although spin is on, it won't work. Let's have a look at what happens. You can see against the logic switches, they're both off. So I pull the switch for the first time, and the stall turn mode and the spin mode come on. But stall turn mode is the mode that's worked because it's got priority. Now they both switch off. Now this time I pull it, just spin mode comes on and spin mode goes off. So both on, but only stall turn will be the mode in operation. Both off, spin only on and off. Okay, so that's how we get the flight modes to control that. And then we need those 3 logic switches. So logic switch 1 is the spring-loaded switch or the push button. It's in both A and B, and the condition, as you can see, is A on, B off. Now you might think, well, doesn't that confuse the logic condition, because if both A and B come on at the same time when I pull the switch, won't it switch both on and off? Well, it just changes the state of whichever condition it was in. So the output was off, so now I've pulled the switch, the output goes on and I release it. Next time I pull it, although both A and B come on, since the output was on, only B will happen and it switches off. Okay. Next we have logic switch 2, which is much the same, except A and B are both logic switch 1. And again, we have the A on, B off condition. Now, logic switch 2 is not assigned to the flight modes. What it does is set things up for logic switch 3, which has A and B this time are different. So logic switch 2 and logic switch 1. But the condition this time is not the A on, B off, it's AND. Okay. And if you've done all that, pop back and look at the fine tuning. Remind yourself, there's the logic switches. That's how it works. And that's how you cycle around the different flight modes. So for those of you who would like to understand how this works, here we are. Here's our 3 flight modes. Here's the switch or the push button that we're going to use. Now initially everything is off. So everything cascades as off all the way through. Stall, turn and spin are off, and therefore the transmitter runs in default. When we pull the switch or push button, that generates an on signal which goes to both the A and B inputs of logic switch 1. But since logic switch 1 is off, it treats this as A, the on. So logic switch 1 output goes on. First of all, this feeds through to spin mode, so spin mode switches on. But it also provides the 2 A and B inputs for logic switch 2, which starts as off and therefore treats this on signal as the A and switches on logic switch 2's output. That comes down as the first input into the AND switch. The other input from logic switch 1 has also gone on, therefore the AND switch goes on, switching on stall turn mode. So now we've switched on stall turn and spin mode. Stall turn is the higher priority, and therefore that's the mode the transmitter uses. We pull the switch again. Logic switch 1 treats that as the B input and switches off its output. That switches off spin mode. It also must switch off the AND switch because this input's gone off, and therefore stall turn mode goes off. But it doesn't change the output of logic switch 2. Remember, A and B are looking for transitions from off to on. So B cannot treat the off signal as its trigger. It's still working on the on that triggered input A. So logic switch 2 is still on. Now we pull the switch again. That gets treated by logic switch 1 as its input. It switches on its output, which once again switches on spin mode. Logic switch 2 now has a second on signal. That goes to input B, which switches off logic switch 2's output. So now the AND switch only has B switched on. A is off. Therefore, its output stays off. Stall turn is not switched on. So the only one switched on is spin mode. Pull the switch again. That's treated as B input by logic switch 1, which switches off its output. That switches off spin mode. These are already off, so they remain off. And then the next time you pull the switch again, that whole sequence starts running through once more.